You're not being abused. The impact that impacts trust. Carrying the load. Manipulation, boundaries, and covert contracts. The emergency poop story. Erectile dysfunction. You're not being abused. Welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast, guys, and you fuckers are abusing the term abuse. Okay? Now, I'm saying that because I did that for a reason. You fuckers, okay? I understand how that sounds like it's abusive. It's emotional, right? Emotionally abusing you. I'm calling you a name, right? Now, many of you go on and on and on. This was our relationship too. Like, I swear, it's no secret, okay? But most of the time, I'm not swearing at you. And some of you guys, I want to start this episode because some of you guys take everything so personal that you call it all abuse. You're emotionally abusing me when somebody like your man is walking around throwing a fit because I'm gonna use something. We got a flood happening in our studio right now, okay? And let's say, he's frustrated. He's pulling down the drywall, and a piece hits him in the head and he's like, fuck, and some of you guys feel like the frustration and the language is automatically abuse. You're tying it to times when maybe he did abuse you, but you're saying it in a way where it's just not true, okay? And this is happening with a lot of different things with abuse nowadays, hey?
Yes, discomfort is not abuse. Having an argument is not abuse. Abuse is more calculated. It's more manipulative. It's more covert. It's not just someone that's angry isn't abusive. And I'd like to take this opportunity actually. I've always admitted to reactive abuse. The reason that this is coming up, this topic today, is because I've been researching a little bit more on emotional violence and emotional abuse, because the more popular we get, the more women are coming to us. And I need to really fine tune my screening process to see what exactly is going on. Why is she coming to me? Why is she resonating with my story? So as I started to dive into emotional abuse, and you guys all know that I've already learned a lot about narcissism and all of that, and gaslighting and crazy making, all those sorts of things. But I've really been diving into learning more about emotional abuse. As I've learned more about it, I have to take it back. I was not emotionally abusive. I was angry. And you can definitely be abusive in anger, but anger does not equal abuse. It doesn't necessarily mean just because you're yelling, just because you do something that's out of character because you're dysregulated, that does not mean that you were abusive. You can be angry and not abusive. A lot of people are angry. Let's use parenting, for example. Man, sometimes it's really difficult in our home. Our three children all have big personalities, and I can get very frustrated. I apologize to my children every single day, but I'm not demeaning them. I'm not shaming them. I get angry. I get frustrated. I get a little bit loud. I've really been trying to work on yelling. Have you noticed the last week or so, the kids and I have an agreement.
I didn't think about it until now, but yeah.
Yeah, so the kids are going to try to be more of a team with me, and I'm going to try to keep my volume down. We're trying to really work together, and we talk about apologizing. We talk about how we act when we're dysregulated and how it's a mistake if I raise my voice or yell or any of those things. And so when you are angry, or when you are getting a little bit loud, or when he used the example of swearing, it could be abusive, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. So when you're evaluating your own situation, think about what is actually happening. Don't automatically agree to reactive abuse. Just because you become someone that you're not proud of, that just means you could be dysregulated. You're showing anger and frustration in an inappropriate way, but it doesn't mean you're abusing your partner. And I'm talking about reactive abuse. Also, if your partner is yelling at you, getting frustrated, stonewalling you, ignoring you, it's not necessarily abuse. And I'm not saying that it's not abuse. So if you're in a situation, Cass was abusive. He was very narcissistic, not purposefully manipulative, but very manipulative with his emotions and his withdrawal and love bombing and all those sorts of things. But most of it wasn't intentional. Also, just because it's not intentional doesn't mean it's not abusive. It really depends on the mental health of the person that is behaving in the way that they're behaving.
I think that we have to get more clear. We spend a lot of time in this podcast getting you guys dialed in on clarity, because if you start to just throw around these words and bastardize them, they have less of an impact. And you stop focusing on what you can do. I'm going to just flip this over to financial abuse again.
It takes away from the people that are actually being abused as well. If everyone is going around saying they're being emotionally abused just because their husband or wife is angry, then it takes away from the people that are actually being emotionally abused.
Well, and it also takes away your right, their right, everyone's right to actually control their situation. You are responsible for your choices. So before you go to financial, let's stick to emotional for a second, okay? Now, if you've had years of disrespect and people getting angry, and sure, let's say we've gone through some abusive states here, like, you can't just flip a switch and make that go away. There's only one way, and that is for you to start loving them through it. You heard Kathryn on this podcast piss people off from Reels talking about how she'd go in against my abuse and against my anger and come in with compassion, connection, love, empathy, understanding. It must really suck to feel this way, to be so happy a minute ago and to be so low right now. That's what led an impactful change in our marriage. So all of you guys that hear me say to a man, it's your responsibility, that's because I didn't know what we know now, okay? But that's the power you have as women. So stop using the word abuse and realize how much have you enabled. Either side, guys, okay? How much have you enabled? How much have you allowed to happen? Because it's not going to work with a boundary. Do more of what Kathryn did. Do more of what I talk about, okay? Let's move over to financial. Yeah, I get it. You know, you don't get a debit card, or you don't get money in the bank account, or you are still responsible for your choices. You've heard us talk about on this show. Get off your fucking ass, put the fucking phone away, limit yourself for screen time, turn off Netflix subscriptions. I don't give a fuck, but do something to learn to make money. Like, that's it. Like, we pay for our staff to fucking learn, for fuck's sakes. Like, and you guys can't even invest in yourselves, man. Like, and so if you can understand that, most of the time, there's 2 for 2 right now where you can do something about it. Okay? Now, if you're getting physically abused, that's different, but you need to understand the different types of physical abuse. Okay? And I'll tell you something right now, for all of you going through that, I know it sucks and I'm not downplaying it, but we've recently started, Dennis and me, asking the men in the program, and we know from a lot of the women that have already come to Kathryn, most people, okay, not just men or women, both, would rather be punched in the face, men kicked in the balls, than actually have the emotional side of what we call.
The actual emotional abuse.
Yes, that's right. Like, it's hard to say that, but it's just real.
Real emotional abuse makes you question your own reality. It makes you question your sanity. It's very confusing. It puts you in a state of confusion where you start to lose part of your identity. Real emotional abuse is terrifying. It's not just angry once in a while, calling names. It's I don't even know how to describe it. It's horrifying.
Well, here's one we can miss around. Let's go with spiritual abuse, okay? This comes to us all the time. Well, my husband's supposed to be the leader. Well, then fucking read the Bible and start doing it. I mean, Kathryn has to lead me a lot. She was raised with faith and I'm learning it, okay? Like, it is what it fucking is. Now, sometimes the message comes in, well, he's spiritually abusing me. He's using the Bible against me. He can't use the fucking Bible against you, and neither can she.
Unless you allow it.
Okay? Literally, pick up your Bible, start doing your fucking reading. Start praying. Get with some other women if you're women. Get with other men if you're men. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is the problem. The message is coming in about this is how. I'm not saying you're not being treated poorly. I'm not saying you're not even, of course, it's still abusive, even if it's not full abuse. Okay? I understand that.
Don't sit in, a pity party. Recognize what's happening and then do something about it. There's always something that you can do. It doesn't mean that you can correct it overnight. If I knew how to correct it overnight, it wouldn't have taken 6 years for me to show compassion to him. But now I do know what to do. Now I do know how to stand in my own strength on all sides of abuse. Now, he wasn't abusive on all sides. I mean, probably you were at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I used even God against you.
You did. There are things that you can do. So don't sit in your pain. Even if you are being abused, there's something that you can do to become stronger and not necessarily, I don't want to say not to take it, because it can be difficult. You're not in control of what your partner throws at you, but you are in control of how you accept it.
What you do with it, right? Most people are fawning because they're afraid, keeping the peace because they're afraid.
Oh, I did that.
And, there's so many things that we have to address. We can't do it on a podcast. If you're feeling like you're abused, you need to get on the phone with us. But let me go into sexual for a second now, because it's no secret what we believe when we talk about job sex and pity sex and fear sex, and those all lead to somebody not wanting to have sex but having it anyways, which we would define as rape. Okay, and if we understand what sex means, I'm doing it when I'm being forced to, even though You know, Kathryn was having sex with me even though she felt forced. She wasn't forced. Other times it was. But, you know, if we just stick to the more normal for you guys, okay?
The job sex, the pity sex, the guilt sex, the doing it when you don't want to.
Yes, I put that on men. I say, why? Why would you do that? You can tell the difference. And, you know, I won't go into all today. But do you know what message needs to get out there? Every fucking one of you who allows that to happen. You could just say no, for fuck's sakes. You can't get in the pity party that Kathryn's talking about. You created the life that you don't like right now.
And when you say no, it's not just no and then do nothing about it. You have to grow from it. If you want something to change, you have to initiate change. If you continue to do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. Saying no and doing nothing about it is pretty much just as bad as doing it anyway. If you say no, then that needs to be followed with connection. It needs to be followed with conversations. And in order to have these conversations, there needs to be some level of connection. So you have to have a plan. Otherwise, when you say no, so if you're having sex with your husband, most of the time it's the women doing it with the men. If you're having sex with your husband to manage his emotions, then you're managing his emotions with sex. And if you say no, then you're not managing his emotions, so he's showing anger. Well, there needs to be something done about it, because both of those options are not the way to go. Start by saying no, not the way that I did it wrong. Having a conversation, making sure you're connected, making sure you're connecting on other levels so that you can have the conversation and you can grow from it. Because if you're having job sex, your husband can feel it. He doesn't want it either, but he still wants to have sex with you. But you need to grow because you want something better for yourself. And you might think at this point, I just want to not have it. But do you really want that? Do you want a marriage that you're not having sex? No,
it's one relationship you get to have.
It is. And you only want that because of the relationship that you have. You might think that that's what you want, but when you're connected, then obviously you're going to want to have that piece of your marriage.
Now, really quickly, I just want to because we can go on, okay? But really quickly, just using these examples, think about where you're at right now. So if we go to the most common, which would be emotional abuse, okay? Think about where that's coming from. If we talk about a man emotionally raping his wife with his words, that's something that I coined, okay? He's emotionally raping her as he vomits his feelings and pukes his feelings all over her and lectures her and blah, 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 okay? Okay, that's happening because of the other one, the sex one. That's it. Just black or white, guys. Like, it really is. You know, very uncommon for a happy, connected provider to not want to be like, here, baby, fucking, I loaded up the fucking bank account and, you know, blah, blah, blah. She didn't need my money, but I fucking give her money all the time, right? Put a joint account up and that's it. All my money goes in one place and it's hers. And then she has her own. Like,
I do.
Why? Because we're connected. I'm not worried about anything. Okay? You got to think that where the thing is that you don't like, where you feel like you're being abused, if you feel like you're abusing someone, it's probably deep rooted in something else. And it's coming out with the most easily taken care of. The words that come out of your mouth, the emotional side. And then it's easy to throw things like providing at you, or I used to throw God in Kathryn's face and call her hypocrite and all these kinds of things, okay? And so it's easy to bring in the other forms, I'm using quotations, forms of abuse when you understand where it's really at, which, by the way, none of it will be any of those fucking things. It's always going to go back to who you are and who you want to be. And do you even know who you are? You know, I'm going to film this content, but ask yourselves now, guys, right now, you know, what would it be like if your wife or your husband didn't say, I love you for a day? You know, you'd probably feel like, is something wrong? And then what would you feel like if you didn't hear I love you for like a week? You'd be like, is fucking something wrong with the relationship? And if it wasn't like a month, you know, and I know this is a lot of you guys, you feel like there's something wrong with you. Okay, when's the last time you fucking told yourself you love you? I bet you some of you never, some of you years ago. You might act a little proud. You might act like you're confident or whatever. And if you don't even tell yourself you love you, you're holding your partner to a fucking standard that they can't even fucking meet. You don't even hold yourself to that standard. That's why you need to know who the fuck you are. That's why we throw around terms and we abuse the words abuse, because you just don't even know who the fuck you are anymore. You're defined by that trauma, that pain, that bullshit. Stop. Just take steps to move yourself forward. If you don't know how, get on our app, go.morrowmarriage.com and get into the community, men for men, women for women, and then download the app and then join us. You know, there's a better fucking way. All right? Okay, guys, we'll see you next time.
Bye.